an Amazon Prime Video app on the Mac, and Apple buying ads for apps in the App Store. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Text Expander by Smile, the makers of world-class software. Visit textexpander.com/podcast to learn more and download your free demo. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This time around, the MacVoices Live panel tackles two questions. The first is, why did Amazon release a Prime Video app for Mac when you could always just log in on the web and watch Amazon Prime Video? Then we start a discussion about the stories that have been going around about Apple buying ads, Google ads, for applications in the App Store, and who it benefits and why. We talk about whether it's a big deal or whether it's clickbait. So let's go right back and let the panel do the talking. So let's move on to the next story, and I'll put that in our chat room, also in the YouTube chat room. As soon as I lost the YouTube chat room.
Okay, while you do that, I just want to take a second and point something out that Brittany will tell you I rediscovered the other day, and that is you can have, like, while we're talking about notifications and having them on your watch and everything, you can have notifications that pop up that do not hang out in Notification Center on your lock screen, like under older notifications. Every once in a while, I find a feature like this that I forgot was like a thing, and then I come back and go like, oh, like, look at this. This is a thing. So you can have it like pop up and show you that you have an email and then not have that notification hang out anymore, so that, like, if you are really worried about it, like, it only happened in that one instance, and then you don't have that notification, at least on your phone lock screen, to interact with again later. So if there's stuff like all of my garage door, I don't need the history of every time my garage door opened and closed, but I get a notification every time it happens, because I do need to know if it's happening like while I'm not home or while I'm not involved in the garage door opening transaction. That's an important piece of information, but I only need it in the moment, and I don't need to know later, like, I closed my garage door at 2:13 p.m. Like, I don't care. So so having them like pop up and show me the thing I need to know, but then evaporate, is really awesome. And I sometimes forget that that's a thing that you can do. So I'm going to share that with other people who may also need that reminder.
Good. Thank you. Okay. So the next topic, that I thought this was interesting, that Amazon Prime has released a video app. Even though you could access Amazon Prime Video just fine in a web browser, they've brought out an app. And David, you're sort of our iOS guy. Is this a big deal? What do you see a benefit or anything else to this?
A Mac app, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a Mac app, so
it's a Mac app. It's a Mac app. Excuse me, it is a Mac
Amazon
app.
had it a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
that explains my confusion.
I got a confused here, but I'll be happy to still answer it. Amazon never really had a dedicated app for Mac before, and I think a lot of video platforms are looking to have something that's more dedicated than going to the website. Like Netflix, does Netflix have one? I don't think they do, as far as the Mac goes.
No.
So this is a first for any video content providers to actually have a dedicated app for it.
Except for the M1s, real fast. The M1s, I think you could get the Netflix iPad app.
That's true. Yeah, if you really wanted an app,
I don't think it is. I'm looking now.
It was initially because it wouldn't work on my iPad, my M1 iPad Pro.
Okay,
for like a week when it first came out, and I was like, why is this broken? And I went to Netflix and I'm like, what is happening? And they were like, yeah, we know, we're working on it. It's cool. I'm like,
it's blocked.
It's not, because I can't run it on my iPad anymore.
Okay. So why, I mean, I thought this was interesting. I don't think that there's anything bad or good necessarily about it. Is it just a way for Amazon to, control just a little more of the experience?
Well,
maybe put a few more ads in front of its users?
There's one good thing. It allows you to download content and use it offline. You couldn't do that in the web browser.
Yeah.
So if you're planning on going somewhere where you're not going to have internet connectivity, like on the, you can do this on the iOS. You've been able to do this for a long time. You could, in advance download the content and then play it when you're, like on an airplane or something. So now you'll be able to do that on your Mac also.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
a
I
use.
think I agree with that. I mean, Netflix has had that capability for years, and
but not on the Mac.
I'm not
On
saying
iOS.
that.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is here that I think it's Amazon just trying to extend the ability of people to embrace their ecosystem and think, oh, I can watch my Mac because maybe there's people who want to do that because maybe they don't have a big iPad or no iPad at all, but for whatever reason, if watching Mac is their preferred vehicle, this makes it more attractive to buy an Amazon Prime subscription. So I think, to me, that's what all these things are about, is just getting differential advantages for subscribers to the various services, especially since it's I don't know about you guys, but it seems like since maybe last weekend there's been this inordinate number of Google Google video advertisements where they show somebody in an armchair that just drops from floor to floor to floor saying, oh, you can watch this or that or this other thing, blah blah blah. It's all on Google Video. So I think we're seeing another bout of competition for video eyeball subscriptions.
Now, also, speaking of subscriptions, I'm looking at the app here for the Mac. It does have in-app purchases. So if you aren't a Prime customer, you actually can do a monthly $8.99. But you do $8.99 a month if you want to, just to have access to this app. So they've added that. I don't recall that being on the iOS app. There was always you always just signed into your Prime account and then you had access. Same thing with the iPad or the Apple TV for that matter.
I thought they added that like a year or so ago. It was part of the deal where Amazon came back and came onto the Apple TV, and they sort of did a cross thing between Apple and Amazon.
Prime Video's on the Apple TV, and the Apple TV app is on the Fire Stick, and there's some sort of like gentleman's agreement there or something that makes that possible. Yeah, I think so.
And of course, on the Mac, you could always buy stuff.
Yeah.
On the Amazon site and Safari. So that's not really new. I think the only thing that's really new is that you can download stuff and
you're not trapped in a browser experience.
Right.
I think probably what motivated some of this was Amazon wanting to give people the Amazon video experience. And I think somebody just mentioned in the chat room that X-Ray on the Amazon Video app is super awesome. I really like that too. And I don't think it's any more complicated than as a friend of Brittany's is fond of saying, I want to be where the people are. I mean, if you're going to watch a bunch of video on your Mac, like having control over that experience seems like something that would be really important. Honestly, I'm surprised that there's not a way to do this on Netflix already so that Netflix can continue to refine algorithms and get all kinds of stuff out of it, because they would have a lot more control over what those things look like than they do when they're in a browser. And maybe they just found that people maybe they did surveys and found out people went, I don't watch video in a browser because it sucks. And they decided to make that better. I don't know.
I suspect that that's incorrect, that they could do more. My guess is that all those apps are probably just really thin skins on browsers.
Oh, okay.
On WebKit.
My presumption was they could do something better with delivering the video if they were doing it within their own app, as opposed to having to be at the mercy of whatever the web browser people are trying to do.
I agree with you, Kelly, on that, because I think a lot of these apps just they refine it so when you're watching the videos, you do see. I mean, just like Disney Plus or Paramount Plus or any of these other apps that have content, I seem to get a better experience using an app than I do going on the web.
Because even if they ship their own browser, their own lightly skinned internal browser, as long as they have control over the experience front to back, and then are you able to use that to deliver video? I feel like even that would be better.
That does give them, more control over the UI. But I think the engine is, I can't imagine that they built a new.
No.
Well, I don't know. Maybe maybe it's based on AV Foundation instead of. I don't know. I would assume that it's, a Catalyst app that, they just took their iPad app and You know,
still haven't heard that.
and see, I'm guessing that the iPad app is probably using a web browser, but I don't know.
Didn't they say it was Catalyst already? I thought I read that early on, but maybe
I
it was a
you know,
different
I
app.
can't remember, but you know, can't imagine they would have gone and written an app kit out. I mean, that's, you know, this is sort of why Apple made Catalyst, right? So, you know, some people like this could, you know, that makes it a no-brainer for Amazon. Like, oh, we can invest, you know, a few weeks at most of engineer time, and you know, so it's basically free.
I wanted to
I
go
could see
back
that.
and since Kelly brought up the X-ray comment in the chat room, Brian says X-ray is a great feature. When you pause an Amazon video, you see the actors in the picture and then can click info about them, other films they were in, etc. I did not know that. I never do that kind of thing. But
Oh,
hey,
it's
if there,
awesome.
It is.
see,
It's
You
great.
can see the actors naked.
Really good.
That's why Amazon bought IMDb, because now you can go, hey, it's that guy, and you hit pause and it shows you, well, he's that guy and you know him from this other thing. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Or
Brittany,
in
why
my
did-
case, it's because it used to be on
But
Days of
the
Our
thing
Lives.
is that capability works now in either a browser on a Mac or within you know, their app on the iPad.
Yeah, I'm sure that's implemented with JavaScript internally.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It just goes to show you how we all use technology differently. I never use that kind of thing. I just
Yeah,
don't.
once in a while for me. I don't use it all the time.
It's been there a long time, like a couple of years. It's not on every, you know, all the content, like, you know, especially if you get older movies and stuff, because it obviously takes them a lot of work.
Yeah.
To do it, because it's time stamped, you know, so you stop at this point and it'll be like, here's the characters in this scene.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean,
and then, you know, and it'll have stuff like, sometimes it'll be like, oh, well, there's, you know, this anachronism or mistake in continuity, you know, at this point, or, you know, it's
I
quite
found it
cool.
I found it on accident because I paused an Amazon thing to look up that guy, because I know that guy from some other thing and I can't place him yet. And so I hit pause, and then all of a sudden down the side of the screen it goes, well, this guy used to be on Days of Our Lives, and this person was on Doctor Who, and this person is somebody is, you know, and this guy did this other thing. Oh, that's okay. That's why. And so instead of pausing and then getting out my phone and looking up on IMDb and figuring out who's that guy, and then I can just hit pause and it saves me the trip.
Let me ask a devil's advocate question, because as much as I've seen this, the majority of what I've watched, you know, on Amazon Video has been Amazon, you know, content. You know, probably 90%. Probably the other 10% is stuff that's just unavailable elsewhere, unless you.
The Boys. Everybody watches
The Boys. Yeah.
But so the question is, you know, it seems certain that Amazon is doing this for their own content. Can anyone explicitly recall seeing it on some other?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I just opened up a Star Trek Enterprise episode. I just downloaded the app, installed it on my Mac. It's got the full out cast and trivia through X-Ray, so It's got the exact same experience. In fact, it seems a lot faster because I went and just clicked the cast as it's paused right now. Brought the entire cast up, really big, bright pictures of each person. You can click it and find, and then just gives you who is who in the show. So it is doing old content too, not new content. So
wow, and imagine if you were looking at this something like an eyeglass. This would be called AR, augmented reality. I think Amazon. I really think, you know, Amazon's doing a great job on this. You know, just, you know, double thumbs up to them.
Yeah. I think Brad solved the whole question and we can move on. He says, another app icon in your dock, another tiny advertisement.
There it is. Brad got it in one.
I think Brad did. I think that's... Today's Mac Voices is supported by Smile, the makers of Text Expander, my most used productivity utility. What are the utilities that you have that you just can't live without? Every Mac user has a handful that qualify as essential. For me, one of those is Text Expander. There are two primary reasons Text Expander is so indispensable. First, it saves me a huge amount of time, whether it's preparing MacVoices shows for publication, answering queries for the office, putting the right email signature on the right email, and a few dozen other routine tasks. Second, and at least as important as the first, is the fact that when I use a Text Expander snippet, I know the information will be accurate each and every time. I don't have to worry about being distracted or mistyping something because Text Expander has my back. Who wouldn't want that kind of backup? So right now, I want you to visit textexpander.com/podcast and sign up for a free trial. Find out what so many Mac users already know. Text Expander is a must-have utility for all your Macs, your iPad, and your iPhone too. textexpander.com/podcast from Smile. Sign up today. Thanks to Text Expander and Smile for their ongoing support of MacVoices.
But, I would say that, that I would prefer that. I like that sometimes. That's why sometimes we do things like use Fluid or make, I want things to have an icon in the dock. So like, say I'm watching a movie and then I've got to interrupt for some reason. I get a message or, email, I see a notification. So it's like, okay, I go that, and then I can just go back to the dock, click, boom, I'm right back to the movie. Not like, oh, it's one of, which browser window is it? Yada, yada, yada. So
I mean, it's not an advertisement. You're paying for it. I mean, you already bought it. This is a way for you to see it.
I already bought it. Yeah. And, most people probably are not going to leave it permanently in their dock when they're not running it. So,
or not subscribed. That would be silly.
Well, especially if you're not subscribed, but, and if you were to leave it permanently in your dock, you probably don't need an advertisement. You're committed. When you think about it, it's kind of surprising that Amazon, and maybe this is next, that they haven't done a Mac app for shopping. Wouldn't they like to pull you out of your browser experience and have, a shop in the dock?
Well, Jim, it's only 2021. Let's see what happens.
Maybe that's next.
Yeah. I can't. I don't know.
They're doing.
I feel
just like real quick. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say on the Windows side, Jim, they are on the Windows side. Amazon is pushing Amazon like apps. You could have the Alexa wake word going on Windows now. On Windows 11, it's like pretty much the whole thing. So yeah, I'm actually surprised they're not doing a Mac version either. Probably because they won't have the same kind of control as they could have on Windows.
But they could certainly have a shopping app that just, I could leave in my dock and boom, click and I'm shopping.
What would the backlash to that look like? I mean, do you think that...
Why would there be backlash? I mean, I'm not suggesting they should make it so that you can't use the browser.
Oh, but people will bitch and moan like they are in ways analogous to this Amazon Video app for Mac.
Is somebody bitching and moaning about that?
That's the sense I got from some of the press out there.
Really, I can't. I saw this all over the place, Mark. I just picked one of the articles, to include in tonight. But I just got the sense it was announced, and here it is. And although I did not know about the download capability, and that makes a whole lot of sense as opposed to somebody trying to capture.
I believe the iPad version does allow you to download it. If I remember correctly, I did it before, so
it definitely does. But they don't allow it in the browser because they're afraid you're going to steal the content.
Yeah.
So
take extra security on it.
By putting it in an app, they probably encrypt it or something so that they can play it, but you can't
well, there's still
upload
ways
it to BitTorrent or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so old now these days with all these content we're accessing.
Well, but I think that is the reason why they didn't allow downloading. None of the streaming sites allow downloading from web. From the web. So,
right,
they don't allow it. You can still accomplish it, but you don't allow it.
It's just harder, and anything they can do to make it a little more complicated is helpful to them. So,
yeah.
They do have a Kindle app on the Mac. They've had that for a long time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the third story of the evening. And this is the one. It seems like every week I find at least one that puts my blood pressure up. And this particular one, and I'll throw it in everybody's chat room. It was this particular article calls it one way, but the sense that I got from pretty much all the stories I read is everybody's like, oh, we caught Apple doing something they shouldn't do. And what we're talking about here, folks, is the fact that Apple apparently has been buying advertisements on Google for apps that are in the App Store to help drive traffic back to those apps in the App Store. And I'm trying to figure out what the big deal is. Because if I look at a Best Buy app and they are selling an iPad, they're pushing me to Best Buy to come to buy the iPad from Best Buy, not to buy it from Apple. And so what's wrong with Apple saying, hey, we would like to generate some more revenue to ourselves and, by the way, to the person who manufactured the app or wrote the app by giving it a little more visibility? Am I just, Mark, I mean, you're a business guy. Am I missing it?
I just think it's a slow news time and people are looking for anything. And if they can say, oh, Apple got you because you're doing something that seems unshady, because, yes, they're out there promoting their services, but, the spin is, oh, well, they're only doing it because they want to capture that 15% or 30% for brand new apps and services.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, oh, they've given free advertising to somebody who's going to get 65% of that. Like,
that's why Kelly, I agree. That's why this is nothing. It's just
that's the part that I'm confused by. Is like, because there was at least one article I saw that was some sort of screeching about Apple just wanting 15%. I'm like, yeah, and the way they get that 15% is by giving the developer 85. Like, what?
Hey, there's a lot of stupid stuff out there, and there's a battle for
what? No.
Yes.
Apple is being scrutinized for doing the app tracking thing, which is killing a lot of advertisement money. So people like these articles or anybody really is going to put Apple under the microscope for anything advertised based.
If you can put
because
Apple and advertising in the same sentence together.
Because they're saying if Apple, we gotta, you're protecting us and you're hurting these companies, but maybe your water's not as clean as you say it is. So we gotta get the story about that. And any dirt's gonna be news, as Kelly said, because they're being, there's a lot of debate whether the app tracking is a good thing or not. Obviously, it's good for us, for consumers and users. But was it Snap? One of them just said. One of them just said they missed earnings because of the app tracking, and it's all fun until these companies start either charging us more money for their services or going away.
So again, let me. I admit, I suppose I have a pro-privacy, sort of, bias. So let me state that in advance. But let me ask you, why is it a bad thing that, people can decide, if companies like Snap, Facebook, they're now called Meta, and Google, have made a money out of collecting and amassing all sorts of information about people that maybe they're not aware of. And yes, it is part of the implicit. You get free, we get to profile the crap out of you. But now all of a sudden, I really didn't want to sign up for that, and I don't want all this free stuff. I don't use Facebook. Why should I even allow, consent to having them build any profile or database on me? So I think it's an appropriate discussion. That ATT. Yes, it may have hurt, some companies, and Snap is a very unique case, and we don't turn this into a stock market show, but yes, it has hurt them, maybe to the extent that they have been, maybe rightly so, or based on nefarious actions, being able to monetize what they learn and know about people. So I think ultimately the test of time, 2 years from now, people look back on this. That was bullshit. There's a lot of friction, a lot of flames and smoke when it first came out. But ultimately, these companies figured out how to learn how to respond, and then they realized, okay, their market wasn't as big as it was. It's only, because from what I hear, it seems like maybe it's only 15 or 20, 25% of people who are actually turning on AT&T and opting out of all of this.
Well,
So
how the markets respond is going to be the question. I mean, is it going to be, how is it going to
the
be
market? Which market are you talking about? The market of 200 million, billions
companies.
of people. Billions of people are using.
Again, I'm not going to go into the whole thing with privacy. Again, we're Mac people. We like privacy. Apple push privacy because they put a computer in your pocket and they have to. But if we had 3 people on this panel that were in the advertisement business, we would have a debate because that's their job and they're losing money.
Stuff that they got, stuff that they took, stuff that they were able to get that they took advantage of. There was no quid pro quo. Well, there was a quid pro quo in it, but people started to realize, oh my God, companies like Google and Facebook, they know that much about me and they're serving me up because of, I once clicked on a site for this obscure, German auto part. And now they're, flooding me with all sorts of, other things because there's a, new startup company in the market that's offering these things. And,
we have to dissect what
I'm inventing fiction on this, but
right. But we have to dissect of what we think people think that the internet knows about them, because
right.
Because people are naive and they're like, you hear the stories and people are like, oh well, these internet knows my everything about me, and when they're thinking like where I am, where I live, my social, and it's not, it's that you like German cars is basically what they know about you.
Right, but I think the reality, my own personal sense is, this will go on for 1 or 2 years. The companies will realize that yes, a lot of people really do prefer to get free service, and they do want to get relevant advertisements, and they're not as freaked out about what the companies might know about what they're doing. So right now we're in the middle of this working out period, and also it's politically heated because both parties have different views on what happens, and politicians are great at taking issues to divide people and ultimately doing nothing long term of things. So I think in 2 to 4 years this is all just going to work itself out. And I mean, isn't that why Zuckerberg renamed his company Meta, because he wanted to be able to walk away from the toxic what was Tim Cook's, the toxic hellhole or toxic cesspool that, that he created, and ultimately get to be able to charge people for something instead of having to be in this Faustian bargain of invade people's privacy to serve them up, to advertisers, so I don't know if he will be able to do that. But, it seems like, renaming Meta is step one in trying to emerge into something with clean hands instead of tarnished hands.
The MacVoices panel will be back in the next edition of MacVoices to talk more about Apple buying Google ads for apps in the App Store, who it helps and who it hurts. We also veer off into a discussion of app tracking and how much it really is affecting our behaviors, and also look at why the press seems to paint any actions of a large company as bad for the consumer. The larger the company, the more they seem to paint it bad. That's next time on MacVoices. I hope you'll join us. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.